So let's move on to Rush Limbaugh attacking Barack Obama. This ought to be a doozy. Limbaugh's on Hannity's program. Oh, I already vomited in my mouth. But he's going to go after not only Obama, but everybody who supports him, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. Let's go to clip number 3 first on whether he wants Obama to succeed.
Do you want him to succeed? Now, this, I am so glad that he asked me that question, that you asked me this question. I'm glad to. I'll tell you why. I am hearing many Republicans say that very thing. Well, we want him to succeed. And prominent Republicans, yes, we want him. They have laid down. They have totally, they're drinking the Kool-Aid too. They have no guts to stand up for what their beliefs are because they're afraid of criticism. They're afraid of being called racist. They're afraid of not having gotten with the program. Now,
what is that in the side of his head?
Success can be defined 2 ways. I said earlier, I don't know about this guy. I really don't. I've got my suspicions, and they're pretty close to convictions, but we're going to have to wait, see what he does. Now, if he turns out to be a Reagan, if he adds Reagan to his recipe of FDR and Lincoln, and if he does cut some taxes, if he does not eliminate the Bush tax cuts, I would call that success. So yeah, I would hope he would succeed if he acts like Reagan. But if he's going to do FDR, if he's going to do the New Deal all over, which we will call here the raw deal, why would I want him to succeed? Go back, look, he's my president. The fact that he is historic is irrelevant to me now. That matters not at all. If he is going to implement a far left agenda, look, I think it's already decided, $2 trillion in stimulus, the growth of government. I think the intent here is to create as many dependent Americans as possible, looking to government for their hope and salvation. If he gets nationalized health care, I mean, it's over, Sean. We're never going to roll that back. That's the end of America as we have known it, because that's then going to set the stage for everything being government-owned, operated, or provided. Why would I want that to succeed? I don't believe in that. I know that's not how this country is going to be great in the future. It's not what made this country great. So I shamelessly say no. I want him to fail. If his agenda is a far-left collectivism, some people say socialism, as a conservative, heartfelt, deeply, why would I want socialism to succeed?
All right. Look, again, there are parts I agree and disagree with. First, I get what he's saying. If he doesn't agree with his policies, he wants them to fail. He wants those policies to fail. Now, if he elaborates further and then says, look, I want his foreign policy to fail, and so that we lose in Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever that means, or we lose more American soldiers, then obviously that's completely outrageous and outside the bounds. But to be fair to Limbaugh, and I don't know why I'm choosing to be fair to Limbaugh, I don't think that is what he's saying. The flip side to that is he's mental about this dependent thing. He thinks that the Democrats have an intention to turn the whole country into mush and be like all dependent on the government and be like, oh, please, government, help me. I don't know any Democrats who think that. He's created this straw man that doesn't really exist. I mean, we all voted for Obama here. Did anybody here go, oh, I can't wait for the government to run everything and for us to be completely dependent on the government? That's ridiculous. And what I found to be interesting is how scared he is of health care. God forbid we should get health care in this country. But I get why he wants to fight it. If he's against nationalizing health care, he's right. It'll be nearly impossible to roll it back. That's why Obama administration is so important on so many counts. And finally, is it me or has he gotten fatter? He's back to putting on weight, right? No question about it. And then he's got that thing in the side of his head, the Borg device, where if he says the wrong thing, Cheney zaps him. He's like, no, I hate Obama. We should torture people. I know, it's for his hearing. But every time I look at it, I think, man, that dude took so many drugs. He took so many drugs that he couldn't hear anymore. That's why the OxyContin caused it. By the way, that was a legendary prediction of Ben Mankiewicz. When he lost his hearing, Ben said, this ain't no medical condition. This guy's doing something totally messed up to lose that hearing. And he was right. All right, now we got more clips for you. Now the next one, he's talking about bending over. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Let's watch.
We're witnessing racism all this week that led up to the inauguration. We are being told that we have to hope he succeeds. that we have to bend over, grab the ankles, bend over forward, backward, whichever.
Who's telling you that?
Because his father was black, because this is the first black president. We've got to accept this. The racism that everybody thinks exists on our side of the aisle has been on full display throughout their primary campaign. So I think they've done a great job, the media has, of covering up his deficiencies. He's too big to fail, and so whatever goes wrong, blame it on Bush, blame it on, MSNBC's New Life will be criticizing you and me, because they can't criticize him.
All right, that was awesome. Hey, Rush, who's telling you to bend over and grab your ankles? You said they're telling us. Who? I haven't heard anybody tell me that. I don't know who's whispering in your ear. And they got to get pretty close to whispering in your ear. All right. Look, he's got race in the head. He can't get rid of it. He's black, and so it's racist. What are you talking? Who said that being against Obama is being racist? Who said that? If you just talked about nationalized health care, etc., and I said, all right, yeah, that's your opinions. Why would that make you racist? No, come on, nobody's saying this. He's mental about government dependency, and he's mental on the race issue, and inventing things that aren't true, including, Obama's too big to fail, and that's why the media is covering up for him through the primaries. When the primaries started, Obama was like the least big guy in the world. His name was Barack frickin' Obama. He came out of nowhere. You know who was too big to fail? Hillary Clinton. Yet she failed. Look, your theory just doesn't make any sense. And he says, they're going to blame everything on Bush. How does he know that? Because that's the tactic he used. He blamed everything on Bill Clinton for about 8 straight years. No matter what Bush did, he's like, I remember Bill Clinton, blah, 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 blah. All right, next clip. He's still going on about Republicans that are too friendly, I believe. Let's watch.
Well, first of all, what are your general thoughts about him as a person?
Well, this is really tough, because I've never met him. I don't know him except how and what I've seen in television. And I'm suspicious.
Of course.
When I see the media and the entire establishment on the left lay down and become cult-like and not examine who he is, what he's done, and not really examine what he says, but just praise him because of how he says it, my antenna go up. I'll tell you, a lot of people right now they're absorbed in the historical nature of this, first black president and so forth. Well, that is wonderful. That's great, but I got over that months ago after he won the election. Sean, he is our president now. And he's not black, he's not from Mars, he's our president, he's a human being. We're a country comprised of human beings that the Democrat Party and the left have attempted to arrange into groups of victims, and that's who he appeals to. And the victims are the people waiting around for some grievance to be resolved. They're waiting around for something to happen for them, and he is parlaying that. I think the fact that he's African American, his father was black, to me it's irrelevant. This is the greatest country on earth. We want to keep it that way. It is that way for specific reasons.
Look, I could say so many things, but I'm going to keep it short. What's with the victims thing? Who's parlaying that? What do you, I don't know anybody who's a Democrat who's like, I can't wait to be a victim. Oh, that's going to be awesome. And then I'll be dependent on the government. Oh, it'll be terrific. We're all trying to get along in life, man. We're trying to make a buck. We're trying to live. Nobody's looking to be dependent on the government or be a victim of anybody. These are old thoughts from like the 70s and 80s, and he can't let them go. And then he thinks that all the Democrats are like that. It's just not true. That's the main problem with it. It's not true. All right. And then he keeps saying about, he doesn't care about race. And all he ever does is talk about race. How Barack Obama's black, and he's black, and he's black. I don't care if he's from Mars. We're a planet full of human beings. Really, Rush? Well, now I see why you've got so many listeners with startling observations like that. All right, we've got one more for you.
Many Republicans say that very thing. Well, we want him to succeed. Prominent Republicans. Yes, we want him. They have laid down. They're drinking the Kool-Aid too. They have no guts to stand up for what their beliefs are because they're afraid of criticism. They're afraid of being called racist. They're afraid of not having gotten with the program.
Race, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how people listen to him. I really don't. I could barely sit through those clips. All right, but here's what Rush Limbaugh is announcing overall. he is going to go after Barack Obama every single day on things that are real and imagined. Will he have some legitimate grievances as someone who is ideologically opposed to Obama? Yes, in his mind, and I get that, and he has a role to serve there, and I got no problems with it. And then will he make up stuff? That's what he does. Look, he does an entertainment program where his job is to get, half the country, or in his case, about 30% of the country that are on his side, that don't all listen to him. Anyway, he appeals to that 30% of the country who needs somebody to hate, somebody to be an opponent of, and to believe ridiculous straw man ideas like, all Democrats are looking to be victims independent.